So welcome to YouTube Fitness Peer Review episode 2. In this video, I'm going to look at Jeff Nippard, and in particular, I've been getting a lot of comments from people telling me that Jeff Nippard has said that you can spot reduce fat.
Now, it's common to see trainers argue that if you do certain ab exercises, your body will pull more fat from that ab area. And I think it makes intuitive sense that your body would use fat stored closest to the active muscle to provide the energy needed for that exercise.
And so what I want to say to you, Jeff, directly is that the video you made on targeted fat loss, the way that you communicated it, in my opinion, as a sports scientist, was absolutely, completely, perfectly presented. Jeff made a video about targeted fat loss, and all he did is he presented a chronology of research over time.
So up to this point, it's really looking like 3 strikes, you're out for the spot reduction theory. And this was the general scientific consensus for a long time.
And so the research that Jeff started the argument with did not support the idea of spot fat reduction. The concept that you can target areas on your body for fat loss, for example, sit-ups will burn fat within the abdominal region, would be an example of spot fat reduction. Now actually this is not correct, and that's when research and practical application has told us over many years that you can't do this. The way that you do lose fat is as a cumulative process through negative energy balance, and the way that it falls off your body is specific to you. For me and for a lot of other men, it will be that lower abdominal region, the tire, which will be the last part to come off. And then what Jeff did is he highlighted and communicated a recent piece of research which showed promise into the idea that spot fat reduction could be a valid concept.
This was until a brand new study published just last year out of the University of Rome in Italy found the exact opposite result. And as you can see here in the graph, the results were really impressive.
But in no way in his video did he say that you can spot reduce fat loss. So if you watched his video and you came to that conclusion, that is not what he was doing. And don't confuse the idea of communicating ideas to the support of ideas. Just because you look at different ideas, concepts and research and you project it to your audience does not mean that they are correct, those pieces of research. And indeed, although the research he highlighted showed some promise, it had severe limitations as well, such as the sample size.
And it had a small sample size, meaning the results could be a fluke. So all in all, we have at least 3 pretty solid strikes against spot reduction, but one new and very interesting study found a specific application for this once debunked idea. So this was really interesting to say the least, and it was covered in a recent issue of the Mass Research Review, where Dr. Eric Helms highlights the possibility that local muscular work increases blood flow to that nearby fat tissue, increasing mobilization of those stored. But Helms also advises us to be very cautious with these findings, since it is just one study after all.
And so I can expand to Eric Helms' critique of this research that Jeff has pointed to. And I made a video about lipolysis, and I like to think of it in 3 stages. The extraction of the fat from the cells, and then which is the mobilization, and then the transport through the bloodstream, and finally the oxidation of the fatty acids, which takes place in the target cell. And this involves a process of transferring the fatty acids from the cytoplasm in the cell to the mitochondria, where they're oxidized using the citric acid cycle. I've made a video on that, so please watch it. But what's important to note is that the mobilization of fatty acids, i.e. the breaking down of a triglyceride into a glycerol backbone and fatty acids, does not mean fat burning. There are other steps to the fat burning process, namely oxidation. And one way that you can sort of oxidize these fatty acids is through cardio training. Now, the intensity of your cardio actually matters. And in this research, the participants did cardio after the recorded sessions, which will of course influence the fat loss.
Another important detail is that after the training sessions, all of the subjects performed 30 minutes of light cycling.
And so all he did is project ideas to you, because remember, as I always say, research is a contribution to a knowledge base. And actually, his conclusion that he very clearly gave stated,
So all in all, I would say the idea that targeted fat loss or spot reduction is real is not busted. I think that based on the current state of the scientific literature, we just can't say for sure whether or not targeting fat loss on specific body parts is possible or not. I personally remain highly skeptical given the equivocal nature of the data. A sustained caloric deficit, progressive resistance exercise, and sufficient protein intake are the three pillars of quality fat loss.
And I can expand on some of these ideas, and specifically protein. When you are losing your fat, maintaining adequate protein levels is essential. Firstly, for muscle mass and protein synthesis, but also because protein has a high thermic effect. Somewhere around the region of 25% of the calories you eat from protein will be burnt up in this metabolic processing of that macronutrient. In addition, having resistance training when you are losing fat is vital so you maintain your muscle mass. Remember that muscle mass is active tissue. Use it or lose it. So absolutely, when you're in negative energy balance and your body's going through these changes, trying to create a new homeostasis, you don't want to lose your muscle mass, or you want to minimize the muscle mass loss. And of course, sustained caloric deficit. Now, when it comes to negative energy balance, it can get a bit complex when you get down to very low levels of body fat, 11-10% body fat, because of this process of adaptive thermogenesis, which in essence will tell you that if you just decrease your calories to these kind of really low levels, your body can adapt to those levels by manipulating your leptin and your ghrelin levels. And so you have to be a little bit smart with what you do when you get to very lean levels. But for most people who are losing fat, your sustained negative energy balance with challenging training, specifically resistance training as included, and good levels of protein is absolutely the best form of information he could have given you. So Jeff Nippard as a channel is one of these channels in YouTube fitness which deserves the subscriber base he has. It's great to see people like him with so many subscribers and followers, and not everybody with the amount of followers he has chooses to use their videos and communication to give you good, honest information. And so I hope this was useful for you, and these peer review videos are for the purpose of keeping YouTube fitness honest and applicable to you. I'm James Linker, Shredded Sport Science. I'll see you soon.